In question 7, we're asked to move this triangle 7 squares to the right and 5 squares up. Now they've used the word translate. That simply means to slide the shape without twisting it or rotating it. So I'm going to use this. I like to trace over the shape very carefully. Now we're asked to slide this shape 7 squares across and 5 squares up. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now our next step is to move this shape, translate it or slide it up 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now this here is our final shape. So let me just line it up carefully. There you go. And we would draw our triangle in this position. Now another way of doing it is to pick any vertex or corner or point on the original triangle and literally count 7 squares to the right. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now the whole triangle is moved here. So let me bring this down. This is now where your triangle is. Now we need to move 5 squares up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this point has ended up there. Now it's easy because I know where the rest of the triangle is. So it's 1, 2, 3 squares backwards. So 1, 2, 3 squares backwards. And 1, 2, 3 squares up from here. 1, 2, 3. Now I simply join these 2 points up very carefully. And that is where my new triangle is. In question 8, we're asked to find 3 factors in the number 30 that are not in the number 15. So let me have a look at this. This is how I like to do factors. So I do 15, I put a circle around it and I do 2 wings. 1 wing and another wing. Now, I always put the number 1 here, and whatever number is in this circle, I put it here. So the way I like to see is 15 divided by 1 is 15. And 15 divided by 15 is 1. So you can see why I put these here. It's always good to have that in mind. And one more thing, 1 times 15 will give this number. So these 2 are factors. Now what I do is I try 2. But I know straight away, because that's an odd number and that's an even number, they won't divide. I'll get 1 remainder, so I can cross that off. Now I'll try 3. And this is where your times tables are important. So how many 3s are there in 15? So let's have a look. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how many 3s are there in 15? And what I do is on the other side, I put that number 5. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And finally, 3 times 5 is 15. So as before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. So if I try the number 4, is 4 a factor of 15? As before, we said that is odd and that is even, so it won't be a factor, so we can cross that out. If we move on to 5, we already know 5 is a factor because there's 3 lots of 5 in 15. Now what about 6? Again, that is odd, this is even, so it won't divide. What about 7? Right, let's have a look. If I know my 7 times tables, 7, 14, 21. 15 isn't in there. So I know 7 isn't. So I could continue on 8, 9, 10, 11. But what you want to do is once you get to halfway, you can stop. That's a little trick that you can use. So I don't need to do any more calculations. So let me just rub these 3 out. So my factors for 15 are 1, 3, 5, and 15. Now let me do the same thing for 30. So I write the number 30, put a circle around it, and I do 2 wings. 1 wing, 2 wings. I put the number 1 here. And on the other side, I always put this number, whatever's in the circle, 30. Now I know this is an even number, so I have to bear that in mind. So now let me try number 2. How many 2's are there in 30? So if I did my times tables, I would know that there's 15. So I draw a line and I put 15 there. Now let me just go back to this. I'll show you how you can do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this 30 up into 20 and 10. And I know 20 divided by or shared by 2, because remember we're trying to divide by 2, is 10. And I know 10 shared by 2 is 5. So what I simply do is add these 2 numbers. 10 plus 5 is 15. And that's where we got the 15 from. So a lot of people find halving 30 or 50 or 70, one with an odd digit here, very difficult. Now I'm going to try 3. 30 divided by 3, I know. I'm going to put a line here and put 10 there. 30 divided by 3 is 10. 30 divided by 10 is 3. And finally, 3 times 10 is 30. So always remember that link. Now, what if I tried 4? Now, I know my 4 times tables. And that is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. 24, 28, 32. So if you look here, there's no 30. So 30 does not divide into 4. So 4 is not a factor of 30. We can cross that off. Now, what if we tried 5? Now, because it ends in a 0, I know it's a multiple of 5. And again, if you know your 5 times table, you'll know that there's 6 lots of 5. So you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots of 5s in 30. And that's why we put 6 there. I know 30 is not in the 7 times table because you have 7, 14, 21, 28 and 35. So there's no 30. So I don't need to put 7 there. I know 30 will not be in the 8 times table because you have 8, 16, 24, 32. So if you look here, there's no 30. So I don't put 8 there. And one more I'm going to try. 9. So 9, 18, 27, 36. As you can see, there's no 30 there. So 30 does not divide into 9. 9 is not a factor of 30. So it's important you listen to the language. 30 does not divide into 9 without leaving a remainder. And so 9 is not a factor of 30. 10 is a factor of 30 because we know 30 divided by 10 is 3. I know 11, 12, 13 and 14 are not factors. And once you get to 15, which is half of 30, we don't need to try the numbers 16, 17, 18 and so on, all the way to 29. So let me rub this out. So now my factors for 30 are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15 and 30. And I like to do it this way because it puts them in order. Now we need to look for factors that are in this diagram but not this diagram. So let's look at the similar ones. They've both got 1. They've both got 3. They've both got 5. And if you look carefully, they've both got 15. Now we can choose any one of the remaining 4 factors. So I could have put the answer down as 2, 6 and 10. Now if you want, you can try this one, the factors of 10. Okay, if you've had a go, what I do is I do 2 wings and I always put the number 1 on the left and this number, whatever it is, on the right. Then I go through my numbers between 1 and 10. And this is all going on in my head. So I know, because this is an even number, 2 will be a factor. How many 2's are there in 10? And another way of thinking of dividing by 2 is halving the 10. So remember, you're halving it. And halving is a verb, a doing word. I know 3 and 4 are not factors of 10 because 10 is not in the 3 and 4 times table. And because you've gone to halfway, we don't need to look at the number 6, 7, 8 and 9. Because once you've gone to halfway, we can ignore all these. So now my factors for 10 are 1, 2, 5 and 10. So there's 4 factors. And it's important you know all these keywords.